Hello and welcome inside Ball Arena, where we are getting prepared here for Game 5 between the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Colorado Avalanche. Man, this is a very nervous time for not only the Bolts, who are one loss away from elimination, but also for the Colorado Avalanche, who are one win away from hoisting the Stanley Cup in front of the hometown fans here inside Ball Arena in Denver. Now, Steven Stamkos, after the game on Wednesday, I forget what day it is, on Wednesday, he said that it was a very nerve-wracking experience last year when the team traveled home from Montreal and had a chance to clinch in front of their hometown crowd. If you remember, it was a 1-0 shutout. Ross Colton with the memorable goal, one of his standout moments in a Lightning uniform. But they said the lead up to that contest was not easy. And playing that game was very difficult because not only do you think about what you have to do on the ice, but, you know, you're thinking about what's going to happen afterwards and who's going to come down on the ice and who you're going to share that moment with and, you know, what are the plans going to be in the locker room, and a lot of thoughts flooding through your head as, you know, the Avalanche have not been here before and the Bolts have. So the Tampa Bay Lightning are hoping they can kind of use that experience against Colorado. Now, whether they can rattle off 3 straight wins, I don't know. That's a tall task. Only one team ever has done it in NHL history, and that was the 1942 Toronto Maple Leafs. But the Tampa Bay Lightning have also been able to come back from a 3-1 deficit once before, and that was back in 2011 against the Pittsburgh Penguins. There are 2 members of that team still on this Bolt squad, and that would be Steven Stamkos and Victor Hedman. So at least they have something to tell the group of what they were able to do back then. And what they did in that Game 5 performance was they absolutely slapped around the Penguins 8-2 inside their own building to kind of get that mojo again. And the Bolts are going to have to try to relive Game 3 to get something going, because Game 4 was such a heartbreaking moment for this team, especially when John Cooper said that they felt like in regulation they had enough in them to win and that they probably should have won that game, but in overtime the Avalanche were just overpowering. I'm going to step out of the screen and allow you to kind of drink in the environment here inside Ball Arena as the fans are starting to trickle in. I did see a couple of Bolts fans here. I do know that Jeff Vinik, the owner, the beloved owner of the team, flew out the entire full-time staff of the Lightning to hopefully help out these guys. And, you know, win or lose, that's sort of what it's all about in this franchise. No matter what happens tonight, whether we're heading home to Tampa and playing a Game 6 or whether this is the end of the road, it has been remarkable to watch what the Lightning have done. I was just talking with Jackie Redmond of NHL Network moments ago. We had her on. I'll post that interview on my Twitter page at @eKlosky_WTSP in a matter of 10-15 minutes once I'm done with this. But we were talking about this team is gassed. They are so gassed. They, you know, nobody in that locker room is feeling sorry for themselves, by the way, because this is what they want to do. John Cooper said it this afternoon. If you can pencil us in for the Stanley Cup Final every year, we'll sign up for it. This is what you compete for. This is what you grind for. But they definitely don't have the legs, and it's not just the Stanley Cup runs from the back-to-back seasons. It's winning in 7 games against the Toronto Maple Leafs in a hard-fought battle. It's the amount of blocked shots they had against the Florida Panthers to sweep them and the amount of injuries they sustained in that series. It's the coming back from 2-0 against the New York Rangers. It's facing one of the fastest teams in the league and arguably one of the best teams in the league. You know, they were right there with the Florida Panthers for winning the President's Trophy. They had to go through a gauntlet. I mean, this honestly, arguably, could be one of their more impressive runs to the Stanley Cup Final than maybe the previous 2 years. But, you know, nonetheless, these guys are not out of it yet. They do not want you to believe that they are waving in the white flag. Their thought is win tonight, and then you are going home with your crowd in front of you in Tampa, where they played in Game 3 and Game 4 tremendous games. I mean, I know Game 4 did not work out for them, and we can talk about the too many men on the ice penalty until we're blue in the face. It is what it is, but the fact of the matter is, you know, they had enough in them to win regulation, and they probably played in the first 2 periods of that contest the best hockey they played the entire series. And Darcy Kemper of Colorado was fantastic. You know, he saved 30-plus shots, and on the flip side, Andrei Vasilevsky has really locked in. This guy has saved 70-plus shots the last 2 games. He was nails in that overtime loss a couple of days ago. It was such a tough L for him to take, and we feel bad for Vasi because he made a few otherworldly saves. He did the same in Game 3. You wonder how much he has left in the tank as well. But he is sort of the one difference maker of this game. If the Bolts can make this run to 3 wins in a row, then you would think that Andrei Vasilevsky would have a hand in it. There are 2 things the Tampa Bay Lightning need to do. We've been talking about it all series long, but it hasn't changed. So we just have to remind you. First, it's take shots on Darcy Kemper. All right? He let up 2 soft goals against the Bolts in Game 4. Now, we give him tons of credit. He played phenomenal in Game 4 overall and made some big-time saves, but you saw in overtime, he wasn't tested. He didn't have to do anything in overtime. He barely had to do anything in the third period. When you stop putting pressure on a goalie who has a propensity to give up some weaker goals, then you know what? The Avalanche are just going to bury you because they are going to wear you down, and that is what happened at the end of Game 1. It is what happened at the end of Game 4. But also, the other thing this team needs to do is they need to make sure they keep the Colorado Avalanche out of the penalty box. Woo-wee! The Avs power play is something else right now, and that penalty-killing unit for the Bolts is gas. I just went through the run of teams they had to play up until this point, but the Maple Leafs, Panthers, Rangers, and Avalanche are top 5. All of them are almost top 5 power play units from the regular season. Some of them are within the top 10, but I mean, you're talking about the best of the best, and it just seems like every time they're on the power play, the Avs, it's an automatic goal. The Bolts were leading 1-0 in Game 4, and momentum stopped because they gave up a power play. And even though they were able to stop them another time in there, it wasn't for the faint of heart. So if the Bolts can stay out of the penalty box, which they're going to inherently always have a penalty or 2 in the contest, but if you can limit it to 1, which is something they actually did in the Rangers series to kind of fend them off, if you can limit that, then you have a shot. And also it'd be nice if the Bolts could capitalize on the power play unit as well. They have been pretty weak up to this point. Now, having said all that, I want to say that teams with a 3-1 lead in the Stanley Cup Final, they are 35-1. Not the best odds for the Bolts. The only team to ever overcome that deficit was the 1942 Maple Leafs. They beat the Red Wings, and they actually came back from a 3-0 deficit. And I'm going to step back and screen here very quickly because even though it's only happened once before in NHL history, the Tampa Bay Lightning can harken back to a couple of recent examples which have happened in a couple of other sports. In 2016, the Chicago Cubs did it, and in 2016 also the Cleveland Cavaliers. Funny enough, Cleveland was on the winning and losing end of that. But it's happened. And where it all starts right now is tonight. Win tonight. You gain momentum going back home. And when you're playing at home, you're feeling good. You win both of those games. You have momentum. You got them scared. And in Game 7s, anything can happen. All I can tell you is with talking with this group, talking with Alex Korn today, they understand the propensity for this moment, the stage. They know they're chasing history. And realistically speaking, as far as this group's concerned, who knows when the Tampa Bay Lightning are going to be back in the Stanley Cup Final. The band will almost be back together next year. You wonder how much mileage they have. You think about other teams that are kind of emerging besides this Avalanche team, which isn't going anywhere. Panthers, Hurricanes, Rangers, I mean, these Bruins, they're all going to kind of be back next year. And you just think about the wear and tear. You know, how full is your cup is what Steven Stamkos and John Cooper talked about before this series began. And thinking last night to myself, I flipped kind of that quote. I don't think it's really how much. It's not about being full. It's about being empty. And this team is gassed. It's just a matter of, to steal another John Cooper quote, it's going to be will over skill. How much gas do they have left in the tank? How much more of a sprint can they do to try to make even more history and cap off a remarkable run here inside Ball Arena. Again, you can join us on 10tampabay.com for all the reaction, win or lose, from inside this building. We are going to be covering it. If they win, awesome. I'll see you at Amalie Arena on Sunday. If they lose, it's been a heck of a run for this group. And the Colorado Avalanche team, man, have they earned it. Only one team ever in NHL history has won a Stanley Cup losing less than 4 games. So if the Avs can win tonight, they're also a fairly historic team to knock off one of the best teams we have seen, or one of the best stretches we have seen in recent memory in the National Hockey League. The Tampa Bay Lightning organization will be talked about in the history books forever, regardless of what happens this season. So let's see. They're not done. I'm not going to eulogize them yet. Puck drops 8 o'clock. We will be live, hopefully, if there's no overtime, after the game is over at 11 o'clock on our newscast. Thank you for joining me on this live event, and we'll see what happens. It's going to be very exciting.